You don't need a million views to make money with social media, and I was able to do this. I closed a $5,000 client with a single YouTube video that didn't even break 100 views. It got 64 views. Okay, and I'll show you the YouTube video, and then I'm also gonna show you my Stripe dashboard, and I'm literally gonna refresh it. And so you can see that I got a $500 deposit with a $4,500 payment following that. So a collective of $5,000 for the single client. I wanted to show you that because a lot of people make videos like this and they never show proof. And I want to be, super transparent with how this works. So let's dive into it. How was I actually able to do this? It started with the YouTube video, obviously. And the interesting part about this YouTube video is that the title was, if I started over, here's how I'd get to $20,000 per month. Super specific with a monetary outcome, okay? I didn't immediately open with like the tactics. I didn't just jump into the tactics first. What I did was I made them realize that their identity was an issue or a component that is restricting their growth on their path to $20,000 per month. And so I started with the identity first, which I brought in Carl Jung's shadow self, right? That shadow self. And then I jumped into the tactics for the rest of the video. Okay, and so when you structure your videos in a specific way, again, this wasn't meant to go viral. I didn't want it to go viral. I wanted it to speak to a very specific person. And so what they did, and I'll go over the actual funnel and the system that you can use so that you can make this same decision. So you make that YouTube video, and then what happens is I have this 7-day email training. And so what this 7-day email training is basically going from offer to pricing to like case studies and like all this stuff, right? Like you can opt in it yourself just to see what it actually is. I built it out and go high level. And so what this does is I collect email, obviously, and then over 7 days, they get hit with every email, right? So it's like day 1, day 2, day 3, all the way to day 7. And then in between those days, I'm also sending my emails, like the actual emails that I write using the Feynman technique so that, it's a strategic lens about psychology and, content and business, and they just get more exposure to me and how I think. And so I'm basically hammering them over the 7 days with emails. And then in tandem with that, they're also watching more of my content. I've been posting a lot of content recently on YouTube. In fact, I went over this 30-day challenge on YouTube of me speaking to the camera for 30 days. And what this did is they were just getting way more exposure into me, my world, how I thought, right? And so basically within the 7-day email training, there's this CTA that it's basically a PS at the end of the email that says like reply when, and I'll send over the document, my offer document that I basically use to close without sales calls. And so this doc, I'll literally show you my doc right now. And so as you can see, this document outlines what I do, who it's for, what are the deliverables and the outcomes and all of that stuff, right? And I show you the process, and you can clearly see the roadmap of how you could get from knowing something to building a brand and actually growing the brand and growing the business. So you can actually see the deliverables, everything. That's the most important part, is that what this does is it builds conviction in your offer and your competency, because they actually believe that they know what you can do. They can see the roadmap. It's like, imagine we're building a table out together or like a desk and we have the instructions. It's like when you can clearly see the instructions and they have the pictures and all that stuff, it's like your conviction on the fact that you believe you can build that desk is incredibly high. But if you didn't have the instruction manual and like all the parts and they weren't visible and they weren't like labeled, it wasn't like part A or like these nails or these screws or whatever, then you're not gonna have a lot of conviction that you can build it quickly or get that outcome of building that desk. That's the way I like to think about it. It's basically handing them the overview of the instruction manual, okay? And so this is how the process sort of works. And the most important thing within this, I mean, like all of it is really, really important, but the fact that they were watching more of my YouTube videos, they were watching multiple of them, the shadow funnel, all of my old framework ones, where I was getting really tactical and granular in the entire process of like how to actually build and grow a personal brand and going over the AOPC framework, and all of this other stuff, right? Like the competence in my ability to help get them to a, six-figure per year business, monetizing their skill, was incredibly high. That's why they were willing to pay me. And so from here, they replied win for the document. And at the bottom of the document, it literally has another CTA to reply to the email. And then they can ask questions, as they did. They asked questions about the program and what I can do. And it's basically like having a DM conversation, but instead of setting the appointment, you're just closing them. And so that was one of like the biggest pivots that I personally made throughout my entire journey, is going from like IG DMs, which we still do use very heavily, to the owned distribution for email. Okay. And so like my YouTube and Instagram all funnel to email, where I nurture them. And then the nurturing also happens with YouTube. And then I use Instagram primarily for proximity now through my stories. And so a lot of people, obviously I'll post like carousels and, some reels and stuff, but most of the time the proximity is through the stories. And then they're also going to opt in through the CTAs through my carousels, which then I collect email back for that 7-day email training. Okay. And then they get a window into my brain, how I think. And, the training is very, very valuable, which is one of the most important components, is because you want to make sure that, they have enough conviction in your ability to help solve that problem. And this is a very different way to close clients than most everybody sort of preaches. A lot of people preach, DMs to sales calls. And like, mind you, that stuff's very important. Like, you need to have sales calls. That way you can build up your actual experience in closing people, so that you can know what to say and how to handle objections through, DMs and email. But the primary lever is email, that own distribution, as well as the YouTube video that actually builds trust, because they get exposure. And so that YouTube video guided them through that entire journey. But as you can see, it's like we have YouTube, and then they go to email, which they're getting nurtured the entire time. And again, this isn't overly complicated. It's simple, but it's just not easy. You need a way to actually build this stuff and learn and try and fail and, progress and iterate over your findings. That's just how it works, guys. It's difficult to be able to jump out of the gate with something like this and like make it work when you don't have that prior experience for, sales-based conversions and like understanding what objections they actually have. And it's a good way to actually validate your offer, because you need a much stronger offer to sell without a sales call. That's just how it works. But yeah, you can opt in through this stuff, but like the core premise is that we want to be strategic with what we actually say to these people, whether it's in the YouTube video, whether it's through the email, and then what emails I'm writing in between the 7 days, right? It's like, when someone opts in through the email training, it's like they're going to get an email every day. And then I'm also going to send a daily or, bi-daily email about strategy, about content, things I'm learning, things I'm focusing on, things and changes that I'm seeing within the market, or my own strategy, right? Like the evolution of the offer that I'm even going through right now, because your offer is always evolving, and you should be always evolving your offer as AI and other competitive components compress price and all this other stuff. They compress, the market sort of converges. When the market zigs, you want to zag, right? Like that's sort of the key component. But yeah, this is really the strategy. It doesn't have to be complicated. The way I like to think about some of this stuff is that, you never know where someone is going to convert or when they will convert. And so like with this as an example, it's like they watch the YouTube videos, they got the 7-day email trainings, they've gotten so many different exposure points to me. And so they could have converted through an Instagram story or like one of my Instagram posts, because it's within the ecosystem, right? Like Instagram is within this broader ecosystem along with email. Okay, and so like they could have watched the YouTube video, read my emails, went over to my IG, saw some of the carousels, went back to YouTube, and then opted into the 7-day training or something like that, and then went to email. But that's just not the case for this one, is that they saw the YouTube video where I was very specific. I called out the identity, I went over the shadow self and the struggles that identity has, and then I went through the actual tactics of how I would get to $20,000 per month as quickly as possible. But yeah, this is just stuff that you want to build up over time. Again, it's not overly complicated, but you want to keep it simple. And like the more people tell you that this needs to be complicated, they're just trying to install a specific belief into you so that they buy your thing. But you know, that's not the case here. Like I'm literally just showing you it's from YouTube to email to nurture to like more YouTube videos and then to offer document to email convo to payment link. Okay? Like that's just how it worked in this case. And again, this looks super simple. It's a little slanted, but you get the point. But yeah, if you like some of the strategy stuff, I talk about strategy. I just launched the Skool community. And so like if you join, you're gonna get a lot of access to me, and we're gonna be able to talk about different tactics and how to actually close. And I'm probably gonna be able to give you a little bit more insights into your unique situation simply because there's not many members in there right now. And so it's going to be going to, I think, $49 per month, around 25 members. So if you jump in now, you won't have to pay. So yeah, that's it from me. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.